Hello there. My name's Dan Johnson, and I'm responsible for Mastercard's digital identity service in the UK, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'd like to take some time to tell you about some of the work that Mastercard is doing in digital identity, and also to provide you with some information about a couple of pilots that we are running. Mastercard are investing in creating a globally interoperable digital identity ecosystem. In 2006, we created the Mastercard Foundation to address financial inclusion, where we have been working to add value into markets beyond what we all might consider typical. This is for people around the world who are not necessarily using Mastercard products, do not have mobile devices, and for whom having a recognized identity might be considered a luxury. We set out to design a set of principles to guide us when designing a digital identity ecosystem. Those principles include data privacy, ownership, security, transparency, and inclusion. A fully functioning, globally interoperable identity ecosystem would have significant positive impacts in reducing costs and increasing business. McKinsey estimate growth of 13% by 2030. And a digital identity ecosystem is also a key driver towards inclusion, not just financial inclusion, but ensuring that the 1 billion people that don't have any legally recognized form of ID can access healthcare, education, and other services that many of us take for granted. A digital identity ecosystem could also improve the lives of the 3.4 billion people that we typically refer to as thin file, where limited data exists to help identify a person's identity or entitlement to services. For some time now, we've seen increases in regulation and legislation, particularly in the financial sector. On the one hand, these changes can increase the cost of operation and reduce the customer experience. And on the other hand, they represent enormous opportunities for innovation to reduce cost and to create delightful user experiences, meeting customer expectations of having simple to use and secure applications, allowing them to share data in a privacy-respecting manner when interacting with organizations both physically and digitally. For example, for us youthful-looking people, wouldn't it be great if you could prove that you were over the age of consent when buying that bottle of wine at a self-service checkout without waiting for a member of staff to come over and then check your ID? We've been collaborating with organizations in a number of markets to deliver a solution that allows individuals to prove that they are who they say they are, and then connect with those organizations to complete everyday tasks like signing up, logging on, and demonstrating entitlement to access products and services. In all cases, the user is in complete control of their data and which organizations they share data with. When we set out to design our model, we recognized that creating a digital identity ecosystem was not something that Mastercard could do on its own. People like me, and perhaps many on this call, are quite passionate about digital identity, but normal people are less focused on identity. They're much more interested in getting stuff done, getting the products and services that they need. When the user shares data with an organization, and we call them relying parties, particularly digitally, the relying party doesn't really know whether they can trust the information that the individual is presenting to them. So we created the identity verification provider. And this is a role that helps the individual verify claims that they make. These are organizations that hold golden source data about the individual. Typically, these are government agencies such as the Passport Office and driver's license authorities, but it can also be banks for transaction and dynamic information about the user, mobile network operators for device and user data, and universities for qualification information, and many other kinds of organizations. These organizations need to have a natural and primary relationship with the users. This is really important in helping us to demonstrate our transparency and to keep things really simple and efficient and create trust when interacting with users. When verifying my qualification, for example, it feels really natural to go to my university to verify that data. When I'm verifying that I'm over the age of 18, the Passport Office or the driver's license authority feels best placed to be able to clarify that information. So now the user needs a set of tools to manage their identity. And that's where the trust provider comes in. This is an organization already known to and trusted by the individual. In many markets, the retail bank is a suitable candidate for providing that trust provider relationship. This becomes a trust anchor for the user, a set of tools that the user can interact with, and a place to go for assistance if the user has any challenges. Finally, all of these organizations need to be brought together to orchestrate those data flows in a trusted and secure manner. A market maker, if you like, an entity that's going to define and operate the system, defining the economics, the rules, the service level agreements, the liability, allocations, policy orchestration, and technical mechanisms, all of which will allow the user to interact with the relying party to obtain the products and services that the user desires. And this is where Mastercard comes in. There is no killer use case for digital identity. The value comes in creating and establishing a reusable identity for interactions across many use cases, sectors, and also then across borders. The more that an identity is used, the more verification points are established, the more trustworthy that identity becomes, and the more valuable it becomes both to the user and then also to the relying parties that are consuming data with the user's consent. And that could be in interacting with government, applying for a new job and proving your qualification. It could be sharing data between health providers and perhaps topically sharing the results of COVID tests or contact data with establishments, opening bank accounts, obtaining new financial products, and verifying age to purchase age-restricted products and services. So I wanted to take some time just to share some details about some of the pilots that we've been running. Firstly, Australia. So in December 2019, we announced or conducted an initial pilot with Deakin University to verify the identity of students when sitting online exams. Firstly, the student verifies their identity using Deakin's app, which contains an SDK that we created. And then when it comes to sitting the exam, the student then securely signs in to the exam portal and using their ID, and then shares proof of identity. Just recently, last month, we successfully conducted a second pilot and brought in an additional partner in the form of Australia Post to demonstrate how a pre-existing ID could be used through our platform to prove identity. Feedback from these pilots has been really positive, both from the students and also from all of our partners involved in the pilot, and many citing the simplicity of use and also the potential for future use as key benefits. There's going to be more to follow on the results of this pilot, so I'd encourage you to check out our portal at idservice.com for more updates coming in the next few weeks. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about the work that we're doing in North Macedonia. In February this year, we signed an MOU with the Macedonia government to build a private national EID scheme. And that was with full support and collaboration with a number of government agencies, particularly the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Information Society Administration, and also supported by the National Bank and the Ministry of Interior. The solution itself called for an EIDAS compliant identity, and we selected a local qualified trust service provider to facilitate both identification and also e-signature services. With this solution, citizens will be able to prove that they are who they say they are to an EIDAS certified high standard, and also establish relationships with banks, mobile network operators, and other partners entirely digitally, so complete remote onboarding. In addition, citizens will be able to securely sign digital documents with the equivalent legal standing to a wet signature on a physical document. Our pilot will go live later this year. So once again, if you check out our portal, idservice.com, we'll be providing regular updates on that pilot. Our vision is to create a globally interoperable identity ecosystem. And at Mastercard, we have the DNA, the resources, and also perhaps most importantly, the will to create such an ecosystem. Partnership and collaboration are absolutely key in driving acceptance of identities in a similar way to the way that Mastercard created acceptance throughout our payments network. We're connected to 23,000 banks and 50 million merchants across 210 markets, which we believe makes us well positioned to establish both sides, both the buy and the sell side of an identity ecosystem. Now, more than ever, as the world increases its reliance on digital channels, we need to be able to prove that we are who we say we are and obtain the products and services that we need. We need to collaborate to bring the digital identity ecosystem into existence. At Mastercard, we're open to partnership opportunities. If you'd like to find out more or to get in touch, again, please visit our portal at idservice.com. And again, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for having the opportunity to speak to you today.